So volume of cylinders, prisms, pyramids, and cones. Okay. Let's look at some examples. First off, when we think about volume, what are we thinking about? What is the volume of something? Yeah, you can say that. The stuff inside, how much you can fit inside. It's the space inside it, okay? So it's how much you can fit inside. You can fill it up with water or sand or whatever you want to fill it up with, okay? The important part about the volume, okay, you can take any two-dimensional object, or most two-dimensional objects, and all you really need is you need to find the base of the object. Okay, so let's say this is my base here. What shape is this base in? You can say rectangle, depending on the look of it, kind of looks like a parallelogram, but in this case it's actually a rectangle, just drawn that way. What's the area of the rectangle? How do I find the area of a rectangle? Length times width, so here I have 6 times 2, so this area is actually 12 feet squared. So you can find the volume of any of these two-dimensional objects by taking the base, okay, what it sits on, or what you can stack up, and multiply it by the height of these, and multiply by a height. Alright, so if I take this area of the base, 12 feet, and I multiply it by the height of 7 feet, this will give me my volume. So my volume is really equal to 12 times 7. So in this case, the volume is equal to, what's 12 times 7? 84 feet, and volume is measured in cubic. Okay, so 84 feet cubed versus area where it would be 12 feet squared. Now some of these solids have a formula for you already. So this is a rectangular prism. The formula for a rectangular prism is simply V equals length times width, where the length times width is really my base of my rectangle, times a height. So for a rectangular prism, you can simply use that length times width times height. So if we want to do this formally, you can make a list for yourself. My length is 6 feet, my width is 2 feet, my height is 7 feet, and then plug in length times width times height, and you get your 84 feet cubed. Two of these solids have a special relationship. So the rectangular prism has a special relationship with the rectangular pyramid, or square pyramid here. All right. If you look at this rectangular pyramid, or square pyramid, in this case it's a square pyramid. If you had a solid, or a rectangular prism that was exactly this height, something like that, there is a relationship here. Okay? You're still going to follow the same type of formula. Length times width times height. But this pyramid has a relationship with this prism. Anybody know what it is? It's only a piece of it, right? So it almost looks like it's part of it, but it's only a piece of this. How much of it is it?
1/3.
It's a third of it. So this is a third of this rectangular prism. Okay, so this is a third of the rectangular prism. So the volume here is 1/3 times the length times the width times the height. And when you multiply this through, whatever you want to do, 6 times 6, 36, times 10, 360, half of 3, or a third, so 1/3 times 360. So volume equals 120 meters. Meters what?
So it's 1/3 times
Meters cubed.
times width.
You got it.
Right?
So that's the relationship here. So if you have the volume of a rectangular prism, and I say what would the pyramid of this look like? Just take that volume and divide it by 3, or multiply it by 1/3. All right. Another shape follows that same logic there. So if we have in this case, what's this called?
Cylinder.
We have a cylinder here. Okay. So a cylinder again. I'm looking at my base here. What shape is my base in?
Circle.
So my base here, my capital B here, is a circle. What's the area of a circle?
Pi r squared.
Pi r squared. So if I look at this pi r squared here, so I'm going to take this base, and to make it a volume, what do I do with base? To turn this circular base into a volume, I take the base, which is pi r squared, and I multiply it by height. All right. So if I look at this, all I'm doing here is I'm just stacking up a bunch of circles on top of one another. And after I stack these up, I'll get my volume here. So circle after circle stacked up on top of one another. Okay, so I'm taking that base and I'm just stacking it and stacking it and stacking it, and I create a volume. That's what creates my height. Okay, so in this case, I need a radius, I need a height. What's my radius here? 5. What's my height? 10. So I got volume equals pi times 5 squared times 10. If you have a calculator handy, that'd be great. So I'm just going to do this here. V equals 25 times 10 is 250. 250 pi. Some teachers will let you leave it like that. That's fine with me. Meters cubed, excuse me. Or if I do this out, what's 250 times
785.
pi? 785 perfectly. 785 point.
Well, that's for 3.14.
That's a 3.14. Okay, so 7.850 meters cubed using 3.14. All right. So the cylinder has that same relationship with a cone. So again, my base here is, again, what's my base of the cone? It's also a circle. So volume here equals pi r squared h. But if you look at this, if I draw some lines here like this, what does this look like? Looks like a cylinder. So how much of this cone will fill up the cylinder? Again, 1/3 of this cylinder would be this cone. All right, so the volume here again, so you want to find your radius, 5, your height is 10, so we have volume equals 1/3 times, the answer we got before was what? 785, so 1/3 times 785, and we get an answer of what? So this is 785 times 1/3, or 785 divided by 3. What do we get here when we multiply this through, or divide this?
261.6 repeated.
261.6 repeating, or if we want to round this to the nearest tenths, we'll say 261.7 meters cubed. So here we have a triangular prism. Okay. When you're looking at this, you don't have a formula for this one. Okay. So, but again, your volume is always going to be your base times some height. The question here becomes is what is your base? All right. So look at your different shapes here that create this object, create this solid. You have a rectangle here. This is a rectangle that's folded up. You have a triangle here in the back. You have another rectangle here in the front, or the side here. We have another rectangle here in the bottom. And then we have a triangle here in the front. The question becomes, which one is my base? Is the triangle my base, or is the rectangle my base here?
The triangle's the base.
The triangle is the base because why?
If you can't stack the rectangle up and keep stacking it, and it wouldn't make that shape. But if you kept stacking up the triangle, it would make that shape.
Very good. So if you look at this, if you have this rectangle with a height of 1, okay? If you have this rectangle with height of 1, and you try to stack these up, and if you try to take this image and you stack these one on top of one another, the question becomes is, will I get this shape here that I have? If I stack these up one on top of the other, will I create this shape here? Can't create that shape, so that's not going to work. So what if I use this triangle? I say, okay, here's my triangle. Here's my, let's give it a width. And I say, okay, well, what if I stack these up? What if I put one of these behind one another? Will I get that shape now?
Yeah.
So it's what you can keep stacking up that will create this shape. So my base here is my triangle. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what is the base? The base of the triangle, what is that area of this triangle here? 1/2 base times height times the height of the entire thing. Okay, so volume equals 1/2. What's the base of this triangle?
Rectangle.
Base of this triangle is 5. What's the height of this triangle? 6. What's the total height of this object? 10. If I multiply these all together, volume equals 5 times 6 is 30. 30 times divided by 2, or 30 times a half is 15, times 10 is 150 meters cubed. So we've done the rectangular pyramid or square pyramid. This is a triangular pyramid. Okay, still comes up to a TP here. Alright, so again, still going to follow the same format as the rectangular pyramid. So it's going to be similar to 1/3 length times width times height, which is the volume. Except I don't have this length times width times height volume. Alright, I now have a triangle here as my base. So what I need is the area of this base. So volume equals 1/3 that base and its height. So this base happens to be what? What kind of image or what kind of figure? It happens to be a triangle. So volume equals 1/3. That triangle is 1/2 times its base times its height times the height of the entire image here, which is going to be h. Yes. This is going to be a triangular pyramid. Okay. So this is going to be volume equals. So if I just want to make a list for myself, what is the base here? What is the height here? So my base of my triangle here is 4. The height of my triangle here, again, it's the two legs that make the 90-degree angle. It's going to be 14. The height which makes this a volume is here, which this is going to be 7.4. So now I have all my missing variables. So the last piece here, just to fill this in. So 1/3 times 1/2 times 4 times 14 times 7.4. So we can do this here. 1/2 times 4 is 2. 2 times 14 is 28. So 1/3 of 28 times 7.4. Somebody can help me out on that one. What's 28 times 7.4 divided by 3? 69.06. So 07. What are we talking about? Kilometers cubed.